and take you through some of the dailies here this morning. We're going to start with Vanguard newspaper. Yes, they talk about economy and businesses, so can never underestimate the importance of initiatives like this one. So look at how Vanguard leads here today. FGs, MDAs, now undertakers of businesses. This is ascribed to Manufacturing Association of Nigerian Manufacturers and NECA, Employers Association. So look at the riders here. Lament rising inflation, multiplicity of taxes, threats of strikes, protests. Not a good combination. Say Nigeria needs investments to create jobs. Hence initiatives like that one, so that once you have that across the country, you have different people looking forward to something, so you could channel resources and wealth in the right areas. It will be immensely important. And then the other rider, Lord organized businesses for resilience. People not interested in budget figures if prices of bread, rice remain high. Ascribed to Rewane. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't have said it better.
What did you say about bread again?
People budget figures don't mean anything to people.
Oh, yes.
If the price of bread and rice. That's what we intend to define. This morning, I think we'll try and break that down and humanize the importance of having a budget, that high polluting word budget. This one is Christian.
That has an impact, a direct impact on the lives of the people. That affects their everyday existence. And that headline is really telling, Chamberlain, that federal government MDAs, now undertakers of businesses, they're supposed to enable business. They're supposed to empower businesses. And it's very interesting that I think Vanguard is focusing on federal government agencies. But states, if you think federal government agencies and MDAs are the ones, really undertaking, go to the states and see what is happening there. You will ask yourself, are these people existing to serve people, or are they existing just for the sake of existence? Because I don't think that they even understand what their role is in empowering businesses and empowering ideas. I don't think a lot of people who work in our civil service understand it, because if they did, I would think that people will be a little more active, a little more agile, a little more interested, a little more passionate about what it is that they do. Well, some people do. Some very few agencies heads do. But when you go down the line, you'll be wondering, how do these people get here? How did they get here?
Very, very important food for thoughts. But look at this other part. Ads, you can fake news, but can't fake prosperity.
No, you can't.
So all of those schemes that you see government opportunity, government agents or agencies or groups come up with, can't fake prosperity. If they don't have it, they don't have it. So you know what it is. When people are down, they fear no fall, and they're angry, it could be very dicey. So the president, I think he spoke about the importance of private sector, that they want to see partner with private sector. Mr. President, I think you're looking at an opportunity right here. That's Vanguard today.
Well, The Guardian is looking at the International Day on HIV. They have a big story for you on pages 4 and 5. Amid ravaging scourge, HIV cure vaccine still elusive 42 years on. That's a lead story right here. So while it is we've made some progress with awareness around HIV and AIDS, it doesn't mean that more and more people are not living with the disease. 1.9 million Nigerians living with HIV/AIDS as of 2022. 42% of this number are male and 58% are female. So you also have other infographics around here talking about new infections among key populations. So people really need to, be aware. They're usually people whom we ignore, and we need to pay a little more attention to drug addicts, female sex workers, inmates of correctional facilities, and so much more. You have all of the details right there on the front page of The Guardian. Take a look at the other stories they have here. Lagos Assembly takes inventory of failed state roads. Okay, so it looks like the Assembly is getting a bit proactive. Page 26 is where you find details. 135 billion naira intervention funds Senate may alert anti-graft agencies on recovery. National Assembly begins debate on 2024 budget despite debt servicing concerns. That's right there. And UN leaders call for action, high ambition as COP28 opens in Dubai. We'll leave it there for the Guardian newspapers.
And turn our attention next to the Nigerian Tribune this morning, which also focuses on something very important that affects you and I. And, you know, it comes with some form of contradiction, if you ask me. Listen to this, Coyote. 80% surge in food importation, alarming. That's ascribed to the federal government. But that's not the only interesting bit of it. 88.5 million Nigerians threatened with insufficient food consumption. Food inflation stood at 31.52% in October. Says Nigeria has highest rate of stunted children globally. Explains what is being done in reverse. So if 88.5 million Nigerians are threatened with insufficient food consumption, where's the funding coming from for 80% surge in food importation? Definitely some people are funding food importation.
It doesn't make sense a lot of times when you look at these things. You would hear that we don't have a reason to import food. Because we're well and able with the arable land, with our population. We're well and able to adequately feed ourselves. So when you see these sorts of headlines, it's just an irony of sorts, lots of ironies, and you wonder who's seeing this and who's doing something about this.
And what's the budget going to do about it? I believe that's a question Chamberlain and Mark were asking, you know. 25.7 trillion naira is ambitious, but how does it bring down 27.5 rather? I reversed it. How does it bring down the cost of a bag of rice from 50,000 naira? You know? And the next one also leads us to the next question, which is closer to the bottom strip of the paper. 1.35 billion naira gas intervention project. Senators kick as CBN Petroleum Ministry trade blame. And the important thing is to get the price of cooking gas down from 15,000 naira, which keeps rising, to what it was before. Let's just take a quick check on politics. It's at the top of the nameplate. Ayedatiwa presides over Ondo Exco meeting. All political issues resolved. That's ascribed to the government. Assembly withdraws case against deputy governor. They have the president to thank for that one. And there's also this one. Shaibu free to contest, but PDP members will decide Edo-Guba candidates. That's ascribed to the governor. Of course, the governor was speaking yesterday, and you can catch it on the news at 10 on our YouTube channel. Let's leave it there for the Nigerian Tribune.
Business Day leads with this one. Japa hurricane crumbling Nigeria's healthcare. I mean, I saw a report, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, about a certain university teaching hospital that had to close some wards as a result of lack of nurses and the rest.
Just the other day, a governor was speaking. I can't recall now if it was a governor of Bauchi State. One of the governors in the north was saying he has revamped the health sector, but there are no doctors because all of the doctors have exited the country.
I think the report was about Luth. I think it was about Lagos University Teaching Hospital, something to follow up on, definitely. But this is something we had feared. This is something we had seen coming. But now it is here with us, and it's even getting worse. Japa hurricane, that's what Business Day calls it. Again, a wake-up call if we needed anyone at that.
Just to add to that, it's hitting the education sector as well, and the banking sector as well.
And I'll just take one more for you. On the top of the front page, debt service for 2024 is 16 times poverty war chest. So I imagine this story saying, well, we budgeted some funds to solve the poverty situation, but sadly, what we're using to service our debt is 16 times what we're trying to use to curb poverty. So you wonder, in terms of, business sense,
more than what we're using to curb poverty.
So it doesn't quite make sense, because we'll have used that fund to actually solve poverty, which is what we always say we're trying to borrow to solve, to build infrastructure, which will make businesses work, and of course will employ more people and end poverty. But there you go. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't balance up well. I'll leave it there for you and with the Business Day newspaper. Back to you guys.
All right, let's take a look at New Telegraph next. No ex-governor with corruption case or corruption cases will escape probe. And this is ascribed to the EFCC. Says its core mandate remains Senate to involve anti-graft body in CBN 250 billion naira gas funds probe. You know, it's I don't know. Sometimes you see all these headlines and it just looks like fairy tales to you, especially at the point where they keep telling us that, look, the economy is wobbly, we need to gird our loins, buckle, you tighten your belts, and cut coats according to our cloth. And then you see the way and manner which government agencies bastardize funds, public funds, not their personal money though, public funds, because they clamp down on businesses and individuals who default to their taxes and things like that. And then you see all these kind of things time and again. It's really frustrating and upsetting for every person. And you look to the out there, and when was it? I don't know how many people will forget that in a hurry, how the palliatives, you saw what went on in the country, how no matter the excuses they gave, they hoarded noodles to, they warehoused it to use it for what? Distribution for political purposes. Just, that tells you the mindset of where these people's minds are, where their head is. So, but we have to keep asking some of these questions to ensure that the right things are done. You're asking us to uphold our own, pay this tax and pay. You have to be seen to be doing the right things. You just have to. Stay at home. Southeasterners not known for laxity, indolence. Governor Umba says investors now ready for business in Enugu. So we have several other scenarios here. So we'll see how much, if they go through, I mean, their narratives, this Senate to involve anti-graft body, if they come through with it, because, and anyone remind me please, which of these probes or investigations or oversights has come to a proper conclusion in the history of any Senate from 1 to 9? That's New Telegraph.
A few have, interestingly, Chamberlain, a few have, but the question is, what is done with it? Because the Senate can only do what the Senate can do, which is come up with, you know, a report at the end of the day and recommendations which they give to the executive. If the executive feels that you're not going to do anything about it, that's what happens. It remains just that, a probe.
Yeah, so the question then is, if they know, or whichever one they came up with, which doesn't come to my memory now, they know, because I know they deliberated at some point of doing something about their resolutions, giving them some sort of force of law.
Of law, yes.
And that appears to have died a natural death. So they know what usually happens to theirs. And probably that's why people came up with that term from what they've seen too, that they are, you know those two words, rubber stamp.
Oh, rubber stamp. I thought you were going to say toothless bulldog.
To make it short.
But,
well,
but rubber stamp is another term, you know. Rubber stamp, I do fear that this particular Senate could be, maybe, some people say even worse than a rubber stamp, maybe a photocopy.
Oh.
I sincerely hope not. I sincerely hope that we see a Senate that is up and standing up for its own independence and saying that they want to do so much more, you know, holding the feet of the executive to the fire. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I'm hoping that the opposition within the Senate will ginger their own fellow colleagues who are in other political parties, especially the ruling political party, to do so much more. And from what we've seen so far, we haven't heard their voices. We've only heard their voice once, and we need to hear their voices more often. Who knows? Maybe the opposition can even come within the same political party. It won't be a bad idea. I'm taking a look at another paper for you. This Nigeria 88.5 million Nigerians face insufficient food consumption. Federal government raises the alarm over 80% surge in food importation. So what exactly is this food we're importing? It'll be very interesting to read the details on page 19 of the paper, because people who cannot eat, who are not getting enough food, they're not the ones that will have money to import food. Many Nigerians eat what is generally grown in the country. So if we're importing 80% of our food, what precisely are we importing? We have to know what it is that we're importing. Are we importing beef? Is it fish? What precisely are we importing? Is it grains? You know, it's very important to know the breakdown of this. So pick up a copy of This Nigeria and take a look at it. CBN 135 billion naira gas probe. National Assembly may involve EFCC, said Senator Jarigbe. That is also right there. Brainstorm on how best to fight crime. Wike charges military. Okay, on what occasion is he doing that? You might want to find out on page 7 of the paper. They also have a story for you on how many residents are living with HIV/AIDS in Anambra. Over 98,960 residents living with HIV/AIDS in Anambra. And Chamberlain, why we talk about all of these figures, which really are about people, I think that sometimes it's also good to look at where we're coming from, especially with regards to HIV/AIDS, and where we intend to go. I imagine that what we intend to go is a total eradication of this scourge. But I think that this is one particular campaign that has really made progress over the years in terms of the stigma attached to it, in terms of the life expectancy attached to it, the expectations when people are living with HIV/AIDS. I think that there's a lot more awareness and a lot more enlightenment around prevention of the illness. So I'm hoping that it's something I will continue, especially looking at the fact that on the International Day, many media houses really get on it and seize the opportunity to educate the public as to where we currently are and what more needs to be done.
Part of what more needs to be done, two things that we should highlight on: research, and then the Ministry of Health should also talk to us about the vaccines. When COVID came through, there was that conversation about us having, at least being a major base and hub to meet our vaccine needs. And so, the health sector just means it's a lot. When you think about the health sector, so much blood rush to the brain because there's so many loose ends, so many things. There are different policies, quite all right. But when there's just so many loose ends, you just wonder the kind of impact that you see them make. So, yes, we've come a long way, but we can still do way better than this, though.
Well, I think that will be it. Well, they also have that story. Nigerians not interested in budgetary arithmetic if bread, rice prices remain same.
There you go.
Shall I say, if it even goes up?
Well said.
If it goes up, that statement attributed to Mr. Rwani. We'll leave it there for This Nigeria.
Yeah, valid questions there about the scrutiny on the budget, or maybe the lack of it. But Daily Independent uses it to a different path this morning with its own headline. And listen to this one: Lagos demolition. Ohaneze insists state government must compensate victims. So if you had any doubts that there was some form of witch hunting, alleged witch hunting now, or ethnic coloration to the ongoing demolition in Lagos, then you might have to think again with Ohaneze speaking this way. And we tried to have that conversation days ago on the program, but due to time factor, we couldn't exhaust all of these issues.
Well,
but
he said
Ohaneze is speaking.
Yeah, the commissioner for urban planning said that urban development, I guess, he was saying that, well, there is no ethnic coloration. And I think the Commissioner for Water Resources had also said that he doesn't see ethnicity and race. And said that, well, if anybody has any documentation to that effect that, well, my house was demolished and my property was demolished unjustly or unlawfully, they should come forward. So I think it's important to also ask those questions. If you have those documents, by all means, if not to government, put it out there. The media will follow up and ensure that the right thing is done.
Is done, indeed. But I wonder if Ohaneze is speaking for everyone or for those who have been affected at the Alaba market, Alaba International Market and Trade Fair Complex. And you know,
or in other states.
Those people are predominantly from a certain part of the country. Or are they speaking for the generality of Lagosians affected? You'll have to pick up a copy of Daily Independent to find out the exact detail there. But, you know, just to add that, you know, this has had its impact. The ongoing demolition has had its impact on commerce in Lagos, on businesses. And this, we all know, is how people eke out a daily living for themselves. A couple of other stories coming from the front page of Daily Independent this morning. Issue executive order for state, local government police. Afenifere tells Tinubu. Of course, security is a very big subject matter, and of course it's high on the 2024 budget presented by the president just 2 days ago. And lastly, from the front page of Daily Independent this morning, Senate reps open debate on 2024 budget, insist on implementation. That's a page 6 read. Let's leave it there for Daily Independent.
Speaking of implementation, Nigerian News Direct leads with the January to December budget cycle as the governors blame inflation for poor implementation of 2023 budgets. So, city writers appeal to lawmakers to hasten approval of 2024 budgets as implementations of 2023 state budgets suffer backlogs. So we're paying attention to the subnationals as well. Yes, we talk about the federal government's budgets, the MDAs at that level, but there's also states' budget. The MDAs, if I may say, at the state level as well, who, by the way, are the ones who the people, businesses interface with directly. You realize that majority of the taxes you pay as a business person will be coming from either the local government, the state government, and the ones that come to your place. So you need to pay attention because you pay taxes to those states, to those local governments. So you have to
those
ensure
government officials.
Exactly. So ensure that your eyes are on them as well. There's this one just on top. Ayedatiwa presides over Ondo Exco meeting as lawmakers withdraw appeal. So that happened yesterday. And you wonder, is this an end to all of the drama we've seen play out in Ondo State? Or is this a calm before the storm? Because it's politics, you never know these things. What's going to happen next? What did the president say should happen? Does the president have a right to say what should happen in Ondo State? Lots of questions, really. But we'll keep our eyes on Ondo. Ondo and Edo, by the way, are the two states. They're
neighboring states.
And then the elections are neighbors as well. So we look out for that one. But what's most important is that governance in those states should not cease, regardless of whatever issues the principals have with their deputies. But that's it with the Nigerian News Direct this morning, and that's it with the look at the front pages. We are back with something that has been trending for the past couple of days of the program. So stick with us right here on Sunrise Daily.